What's the worst pain you have ever felt? I cut my hand in half on a table saw, had it mostly put back together over 6 surgeries, spent over a year in 3x/week physical therapy, re-ruptured 2 tendons during PT, had those repaired, and I would go through all of that again to avoid a single cluster headache. I hope you find relief, if you haven't already. I was very close to just ending things out of despair, literally setting a date to kill myself if it didn't improve, when mine just gradually started stepping down in intensity. It's been years since I've had a proper cluster headache, though I still feel the shadow of one every now and then. Hang in there, I pray it improves for you. There is hope. I have had 2 out of 3. I had some kidney stones when I was in high school, which culminated with me lying in a hospital bed and asking my poor mom to suffocate her own son with a pillow till the pain would stop. Morphine only made the pain worse, until they combined it with Toradol. That experience gave me a lifelong fear of drinking dark colas, as that's supposedly what caused it. I started getting cluster headaches in my mid-20s. I haven't identified a trigger for the episodes, and I'm fortunate that the headaches occur on a 25-hour cycle during an episode and only last a few hours per headache and a few weeks per episode, which is apparently on the slower end. It makes it easier to plan around, knowing when the next one will occur. I totally understand why they're called suicide headaches. I don't know how I would handle them being more frequent. It's like my head becomes 2 separate entities, one of which is in horrible pain and can't think while the other one is just fine and perfectly cognizant. It's like I have to rely on one half of my brain while the other is trying to escape through my eye socket. I had a seizure in my trigeminal nerve right after my diagnosis with leukemia. I went through radiation, chemo, sickness, went septic, got better, went septic again, had severe mucositis, and a dozen other things, and I would go through it all again if I didn't have to relieve that few minutes of nerve pain. It felt like somebody had planted a rod through my skull and was slowly expanding it. I screamed until I was hoarse, and screamed until my throat was bleeding. By far the most painful thing I've ever experienced. I occasionally get migraines, but are cluster migraines and cluster headaches the same thing? I've dealt with a thunderclap headache once and thought for sure my immediate death and/or permanent mental disability was in the very near future. Most migraines, if you've had them enough, let you know when to start separating yourself from the real world for the next few hours. The thunderclap came on so quickly and intensely, the sheer magnitude of pain had to take a back seat while I blindly wrote the inevitable doctor cutting my brain open exactly what happened just prior to onset. Had no idea headaches got worse than migraines then, so trust me when I wish all the relief you can ever receive from those bastards. I have never heard them called cluster migraines, not that I have a massive knowledge base about them. I assume they are the same as cluster headaches. It took me a long time to get the correct diagnosis, but my neurologist witnessed me have one and went, "Oh, I know what is happening. My nose and eyes always run when I get them, which I assumed was just from severe pain but is apparently a marker. I had never mentioned it to him because it didn't seem important to me. Can't believe I had to scroll so far to see this. My father has cluster migraines. I've seen him duct tape and superglue deep lacerations closed, work hard farm labor for 20 hours, 4 hours of sleep, and carry on for 2 weeks like that. He broke his leg so bad when he was a teen that the bone came out. He'd been alone on a snow sled and had to crawl, bone sticking out, almost a quarter mile to get help. Cluster migraines make him crawl blind on the floor and vomit with pain. Even talking about them, you can see a fear beyond anything else in his eyes. Thank God he gets years between clusters. I'm sorry you go through that too, man. I have a couple discs like this too. I had back spasms so bad one night while I was sleeping the pain threw me up out of bed. My wife told me I was flopping on the wall like a fish until I passed out. I finally got away from manual labor and the steroid injections started working for more than a year. I haven't needed a shot since 2014. Hi. When my disc ruptured, I kept trying to describe the pain, and I decided it felt like God had hooked his finger through my butt and around my sciatic nerve and was very slowly pulling the nerve out, tearing all the little tendrils along the ankle, the calf, the knee, up my thigh, and into my hip. 24 hours per day, 7 days per week, and narcotics had absolutely no effect. I've given birth twice without any pain meds, so surgery helped. Regular exercise in a pool helped me really a lot, shallow water exercise, not deep water or swimming for me. Getting my core stronger was useful. Concentration meditation, not necessarily mindfulness, provides a way to work with your mind. Shinzen Young is a Western Zen teacher who works with people in pain. Giving up thinking I can ever lift anything heavier than 10 pounds has been really difficult but absolutely essential. Not killing myself has been very important, although at the worst, if I could have driven myself to the bridge, I would have jumped. Hang in there, friend. Fuck pain. Keep seeking treatments. Any minute you don't have pain, relax and enjoy and feel the relief. Know that healing, or at least improvement, is definitely possible. This is a weird piece of advice, but it's what I wish was given to me after my loss. Nothing is going to work to fix the pain. If that makes sense. Nothing will dull it, stop it, replace it. No therapy, no groups, no books. The tools we gain from those things for grief help us cope so we can function through the initial pain, but nothing cures that pain but time. With time you truly will feel better. The sadness isn't all-consuming anymore. I know at first it just feels like you're surrounded by it. Awake, asleep, no matter what, it's there, and it's so inescapable and overwhelming in its agony that you don't even know how to function sometimes. But that does go away. I promise you. Sadly, there's no way to expedite it. This pain of loss is something that we must see through to the end. Just please know the way you feel now is not forever. If you have other babies, remember that even though you must continue to be mommy, you don't have to hide that you are hurting. Let them know it's safe for them to hurt too. Having the world ripped out from under your feet is staggering. You'll struggle to find your footing again. But you will find it again, mama, you will. I promise you. Likewise, I'm here for you. The loss of someone that close is very difficult. Especially if it's your own child. I'm so sorry for your loss. But like the kind Redditor who wrote that inspiring message, only time will help out. I'm here for you. You can lean on me. I'm so sorry. I'm sending lots of love and support your way. I raised a child as my own for 4 years, met his mother when she was 7 months pregnant. His father was never in the picture and died when he was 2. Eventually, when he was 3, we broke up, but she agreed that I should stay in his life. A little after he was 4, she was pregnant with her second child, living with another guy, and just cut me out completely. I had been having him 1 to 2 nights a week at my place after we broke up. It's been 4 years since then and it still hurts. I can't imagine having your child die. I take solace in the fact he's still out there somewhere, happy with a little sister. But it still rips my heart out every time I think about him or see a picture of us together. His first words were calling out its Dada, pointing at me when I came over to her house. I never knew if I wanted kids before I dated her and experienced fatherhood. Now it's the biggest hole in my heart. I remember having this pain when I was 15 or so after eating tough food and breaking my molar in half. I had the root canal done and it hurt like hell, especially when I was young too. My root canal failed last year and formed an abscess in the middle of COVID. My face blew up and I was in so much pain for weeks. I had to get it redone and the pain was unimaginable. Thank God for ibuprofen. My dentist was pretty adamant to remove the tooth, but being 22 and having a permanent tooth removed through almost no fault of my own, I really didn't want it. I've got it redone and I'm trying to get a cap as soon as possible. Anyways, I've learned my lesson and I'm really looking after my teeth, even getting really pissed off at my own sister because she didn't have toothpaste in the house and I had to drive an hour home just to brush my teeth, haha. I had a horrific tooth pain on Easter one year. It was my front tooth, so I couldn't eat or talk. I was at my dad's and he gave me a bottle of whiskey and told me to swish it in my mouth, and then when that stopped working I just started doing shots. I ended up needing a root canal. 10/10 worst pain I've ever felt, and I gave birth. I was going to write this as well. I am currently dealing with a middle ear infection and burst eardrum, and I have been out of commission for 2 days. I will have moments where the pain is tolerable and I have some ray of hope that it will be okay, then the stabbing pain starts again and it is excruciating. Literally in more pain dealing with this than giving birth. hoping the antibiotics kick in soon. This is totally mine. I had had a terrible infection, was on my second round of antibiotics, and had to fly home for a wedding during college. It burst on the flight during landing. My dad picked me up at the airport and I was crying because my ear hurt so bad. It just needs to pop, you'll be okay, but friends, I was not okay. Waited 2 days before I could go to the doc and they found a worsening infection, popped blood vessels, and ruptured eardrum. I was nauseous, couldn't eat, couldn't hear, stayed very dizzy, felt like absolute crap, had even worse vertigo than normal, and was miserable the whole wedding weekend. I still have issues with that ear and wish it on no one. Man, I just had to inform my girlfriend I found our beloved cat as roadkill a couple houses down from us and I feel this. She collapsed on the floor when I showed her the collar. I sat next to her and we've been crying about it since then, been like 3 days now. Probably not done crying about it yet. I've been next to every pet I've ever had when they died. Not being there to comfort my little Lucy in her final moments makes me want to scream at the gods to make sure she hadn't suffered at all. I will never forget. Back labor with a posterior baby and disc issues. They wouldn't give me an epidural because I was too dilated. Then I had a 3rd-degree tear. So much pain. I told my hubby during labor that I was going to die and he was legit scared. Broken blood vessels in my face and chest from pushing that giant baby out. Kept telling them that someone was flaying my back open with a box cutter and they looked so confused and annoyed at me. It was awful. 2 scenarios come to mind. The first one was when I had combined mono, strep, and an ear infection in high school. It hurt so badly to swallow, eat, or drink. I just laid on the couch and cried for a week until I got so dehydrated I freaked out and hyperventilated and I ended up in the ER for a night. That was not fun. The second time was when I had an ovarian cyst that burst. This was unlike any other cyst I had ever had before. I thought my stomach was upset, so I went to the bathroom. 5 minutes later I was on the floor crying and seriously thought my appendix was rupturing. Partner rushed me to the ER and they did jack shit and basically made me feel crazy. Fuck American healthcare. I had strep, mono, and walking pneumonia all at once, and yeah, I couldn't swallow at all. Laid there drooling until my roommate took me to the urgent care on campus. They put a numbing spray on my throat, made me swallow a literal horse pill, and sent me home to quarantine for a week. That, and when 2 years later I had a toenail surgically removed, were my most painful physical experiences. Reading the rest of these makes me feel extremely lucky that that's the worst I've had it. Thank you very much for both enduring and also sharing. I'm sure the majority of folks don't quite think of that process as a sort of source of pride worth mentioning, but you literally went against the very same neuro process that makes most people want to do anything again, only times a million. I wish people knew the good they did by overcoming and also sharing the experience. It makes it somewhat worth it, knowing some good could potentially come of it.